Sanskrit and the translation for mantra 1 again.
Okay. Yep.
Refresh ourselves.
Ishvasya
Ishvasya idam
idam
sarvam
sarvam
yatkincha
yatkincha jagatyam jagat
jagat tena chaktena
tena
bhutita
bhutita
magradha
prada
kasvitanam.
krishya.
Would you like to read the translation, Narendra?
Okay, yep. Everything, animate or inanimate, that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
So we have to know well. We have to know well who everything belongs to. The Supreme Lord, Krishna. Okay, so continuing the purport.
Okay.
So we were hearing about how the Vedic knowledge is coming down in disciplic succession from the Lord, and is regarded as completely perfect knowledge because it's coming from the Lord, who is perfect. So the knowledge coming from him is perfect, and it's free from the 4 defects. So Prabhupada mentions the 4 defects. So, and Prabhupada, it says here, the Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. So the defects are that of a mundane person is that we make mistakes, we are subject to illusion, have a cheating propensity, and our senses are imperfect. So the Vedas is not like that. There's none of these 4 defects there, since it comes from the Lord and down through the parampara, the succession. And we didn't get much further, was it? Do you remember where we got the purport? We might have read the next paragraph.
I think we finished the third third paragraph. Yes. Yeah.
The Lord's
Lord
proprietorship
Yep.
over everything within the universe, that one?
Yes, that's. I think Sarah read that.
Yeah, she read that. But we didn't talk much about that. So I'll just quickly say something about that. So Prabhupada's quoting from the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where it's talking about para and apara, prakriti. So para means superior, apara means inferior, and prakriti means nature. Whose nature? It's Krishna's nature or Krishna's energy. So prakriti means like energy. So it's energy, and then naturally we would say, whose energy is it? Well, it's God's energy. It's Krishna's energy, and that's prakriti. And prakriti or nature or energy is feminine. Energy is regarded as feminine. So, and the controller of the energy is called Purusha. So these are two important terms, Purusha and Prakriti. So the Lord is the Purusha. He's regarded as male, the enjoyer. Purusha means male and enjoyer, and Prakriti means female or enjoyed. So that's ed, enjoyed. So, and in that understanding, there's only one Purusha, one male. The supreme male is Krishna, is God, and everything else created by God is Prakriti or energy, female, to be enjoyed by God, because he's the owner of everything he created, as this verse establishes. He's the proprietor of everything. So he's the Purusha, he's the enjoyer. It's all his property. It's all his energy. It's all expanded from him, come from him. So therefore, it's all for his enjoyment. So all of his property is meant to be enjoyed by him. He has the complete right. He's the complete right to enjoy all of his property. So everything should be used in his service. Everything should be used in his service because he created everything. So because he created everything, therefore he's the proprietor of everything, and therefore he's the enjoyer of everything. Obviously, if you made a house, then so you're the proprietor of the house, you made it, and therefore you have the right to enjoy the house. Nobody else can say, Narendra, get out of this house. I'm going to enjoy this house. No, they don't have the right to do that because you created the house. So in that way, that analogy, that God created everything. So those apara prakriti referred to there in the Bhagavad Gita, there's 8 of them. So that's earth, water, fire, air, and space or ether, kam. And then mano-buddhir, ahankara. So that's the mind, intelligence, false ego. So 5 gross, 3 subtle. So that's the apara prakriti. So that's pretty much the whole material world is made up of those 8 elements. There's nothing really else in the material world, materially speaking, except for those different combinations of those 8 elements. And then there's para prakriti, also prakriti, meaning energy of the Lord, but para means superior. Why superior? Because the superior has more consciousness and is exploiting these inferior energies, exploiting them or utilizing them. And so what is that para prakriti? That's us, the soul. So there's unlimited souls in the material world. So you've got matter, both gross and subtle, plus you've got the soul in the material world. But although the soul is superior to the matter because we have more consciousness and are exploiting the matter, but we're still prakriti. We're still the energy. But we're behaving, we're not behaving like we're an energy to be enjoyed by the Lord. We're behaving like we're the Purusha. This is where we made the mistake. Although we're prakriti, we're an energy of God, and we're meant to be enjoyed by God because He created us. He's our master. He's controlling us. And he should be enjoying our services that we're rendering. Our services should be rendered for His pleasure. But we've turned away from that nature as a prakriti, as a female, to be enjoyed by the Lord. But we're trying to imitate Him as the Purusha. We're trying to play God's role. That this is my energy, my nature, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm the Lord of it. So this is a mistake that we make, that although we're prakriti, energy of God, but we're trying to be the Purusha. So that's mentioned, Prabhupada's quoting these verses from the Bhagavad Gita, which talk about para and apara prakriti. So both are the property of the Lord. Not only is the earth and water and all these material elements the property of the Lord, but also the soul is also the property of the Lord. But because we, in ignorance, in Maya, in illusion, we ignore this principle that we are the property of the Lord and we're meant to be enjoyed by Him. And therefore we run into so many problems because do you know the word usurping? Have you heard of that before, usurp?
No.
Usurp is an English word. It's not used very much, but it means to take or to steal another's property. So to take or to steal. So we're actually become thieves by taking or stealing the Lord's property and using it for our own enjoyment. We're trying to imitate Him as the Lord, as the proprietor, as the enjoyer. And because of this false psychology that the soul has adopted, we've created so much problems in the form of, obviously, if you take someone else's property, that's not very good. So because of that, we become, karmically, we become thieves, and we run up so much karmic debts that we have to take birth again to pay back those debts. And we take others' shares of God's property. Like this verse is mentioning, that although everything's God's property, but He shares His property amongst all of His children, amongst the para prakriti. The souls are like His his energies, his parts and parcels. So as the Father, as the supreme controller and Father, he has a duty to maintain all of his energies. So everything he's provided is shared out amongst those living entities for their maintenance. But in the human form of life, we tend to take more than our share, and therefore other living entities don't have their rightful share of God's property, the Father's property. Like if the father dies, right? It's called inheritance. So say there's 3 children, so each child will get 33.3%. They'll all get a fair share of the father's property. Of course, God never dies, but he does share out his property for the maintenance of all of his children. But imagine if one of the children takes the whole property of the father, and then the other 2 miss out. That wouldn't be right, and that's sinful. So in that way, the souls are engaged in sinful activities by taking other shares. Okay, so do you have would you like to say anything about that?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that, like, he said that everyone has a quota. So as the God gives everyone for their maintenance, and
Yes.
what we are doing is basically, if you are taking more than your quota, that means you are taking somebody else's share, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's not. Yeah, I mean that's the problem, I guess. Yeah, we are looking for, we want things which we actually don't really need, and that's what is causing a lot of dualities. People. That's the cause of basically
Inequalities.
happiness. Yeah, takes
Inequalities.
away.
Let's say.
Yeah, inequalities, and
Mm.
that's the reason for, I think. Yeah, we are after things which we actually don't need, and then that's
Yeah.
that's pretty good. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see that it's a nature's law. I mean,
Yeah.
it's God's law. I mean,
Yeah. If one of the children takes another child's share of the father's property, how do you think the father will take that?
yeah, he's gonna be. I mean, he won't
I
be
mean,
happy.
yeah, I mean, it's like your kids. If one kid interferes with another kid's needs, requirements, you'd be upset, wouldn't you?
Yes,
You and
yes.
your wife would be upset that that one child is putting another child in distress,
Mm,
into suffering. One child is causing suffering for another child, so that the parents naturally would get upset. So also the Lord is not going to tolerate misbehavior, that some of the children are exploiting others,
mm, that's true.
and therefore we have to suffer in the form of adiatmic and adidaivic adibodhik kleshas, so body and
Mm,
mind, and,
mm,
like that,
mm,
from natural disasters and so many things. And so these are all caused actually by ourselves. That our suffering that we experience is not, in one sense, that you can't blame the Lord for our suffering. Our
mm,
suffering is actually caused by our own misdeeds, because we do so many wrongdoings, so many misdeeds. Then we get the reactions for that. So you can't really point the finger at anyone else for
mm,
our own suffering. That they're all reactions to our own previous activities, which are not haven't been done properly according to the laws of nature and the laws of God. We've
mm.
been acting sinfully, rebelliously, like thieves. So we really have to expect there's going to be some kind of backlash, some kind of problems. But
It's
as
true.
soon as we toe the line and become obedient, sons and daughters of the Supreme Father, then immediately, things will become better. So that is the hope, that it can be changed if humanity, individually and collectively, change their behavior and become more obedient children of the Lord. and not infringing on the rights and property of others, then life will become better for each of us like that. So it can be changed, and that's the way to do it, not by just trying to materially make adjustments to the problems, but we have to come in line with the laws of nature and simplify our lives and just take what we need.
That's right. I mean, yeah, there will be a lot of, less problems in this world if we do that, I guess.
Yeah. I'll give you one example how we don't follow the laws of nature. There's an economic law, which you probably know of, supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
So if the supply is more and the demand is at a certain level, but the supply is more, what will happen to the price?
Price, if demand is less and supply is more, the prices will go down.
Is that good for economics, for making profit?
Probably yes, because I don't know. I mean, yeah, it really depends on person to person. I mean, but in overall terms, if the supply is more and demand is less, that means, well, yeah, there'll be less profit, obviously, but
There's profit, and they don't want that. The materialistic person is after maximum profit. So do you know what they're going to do?
They're gonna basically create artificial demand or something, or hold
No,
the
but
stock.
demand is a certain number of people is there is fixed. You can't really
you
increase the.
you decrease the supply basically.
Yeah, that's naughty. Because who is actually supplying? God is supplying. I'll give you one specific example. Say 1 year, and this has actually happened. There's an excess supply of butter. So they're really good season, lots of milk, and they make lots of butter. But that means so much butter is on the market that the price goes down and they make less profit. So what do? They put the extra butter in a ship and tip it off the ship into the sea. They actually done this. They do it with many things. Just push it into the sea.
Whoa.
So that butter was actually the proprietor of that butter is God, and He's providing it for us 6 billion whatever people. But a few people have taken proprietorship over that. This is my butter, and I want to make more profit out of it. And they don't think that there's people starving in India or Ethiopia or something like that. They can use that. They just thinking about themselves. So they'll push tons and tons. And it happens with rice. It happens with wheat. It happens with everything. But that was one example I know where they've done that with butter. Just whole, cargo ship full of butter, just pushed into the ocean to restrict the supply, to push up the demand and the price like that. So this is sinful, and there's going to be some suffering for that. So this is interfering with the laws of nature, and just because of greed. Because
That's
of
right.
greed, we do so many wrong things. So this is what we have to learn our lesson and become more in tune with nature. So yeah, we can read from the next paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, you can read that. Because the
Okay.
Supreme Being.
Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, He has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of His different potencies. The Supreme Being is often compared to a fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays His energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation.
So a very nice analogy here
Mm.
Prabhupada gives to help us understand God and the energies,
Yeah.
to the understanding that God can be compared to a fire, and
Mm.
fire has two energies, heat and light.
That's right.
So that's the analogy. God is compared to fire, and we and the other energies are compared to heat and light.
Heat of light.
Mm. So he's the controller of all these energies, and also mentioned that he's maintaining the different energies. Sustainer means maintainer,
Mm.
and dictator means, yeah, so like he's the controller, and he knows everything. This is an important quality of God, that he is Kavi, he knows everything. And benefactor of everyone, benefactor means like the friend. So he's the ultimate friend of everyone. And this is talked about in the last verse of the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that God is the enjoyer of everything, and he is the proprietor or owner of everything, and he's the friend of everyone. And Krishna says there that this is the peace formula, that if people understand these three things, that God is the enjoyer of everything, he's the owner of everything, and he is the friend of everyone, that if we understand these three things, then we are going to find real peace. This is the peace formula given in the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm.
Now, of course, you have like organizations like the United Nations have been working for world peace for so many decades. And have they achieved that?
No.
No. And Prabhupada points out that every year there's more and more flags. That means less and less peace. That there's more and more division. More and more division.
That's
That
true.
people are becoming divided into different countries means there's less unity. If we had real unity and peace, there'd be only one country. But
That's
because
true.
we can't get on with each other, and we create different countries, and we fight in so many things. So they're not really being very effective, the United Nations, and finding out the real peace formula. But the real peace formula is this: is understanding that we should all work to please God and satisfy God. We should work for his enjoyment. We should not be thinking about our own enjoyment, because that's the problem, that you have 10 people and they're all just thinking about their own enjoyment, and they're each thinking, let me exploit these other 9 people, get something from the other 9 people for me to enjoy. So when you have that situation, then there's obviously going to be so much quarrel and fighting and so many things. And so everyone should understand God is the enjoyer, not me, not you, not her, not him, but God is the enjoyer, and we're all working for the pleasure of God. And then there'll be peace and harmony. If you have 100 servants in the room, there'll be peace. If you put 100 masters in the room, then you have difficulty. Each one is thinking, I'm the boss.
I'm the boss here.
Yeah, but if you have some people with the mentality of I'm your servant, then there'll be a very peaceful situation. And
That's true.
also understanding that God is he's the owner of everything. I'm not the owner, you're not the owner, she's not the owner, God's the owner. We're just like caretakers.
Mm.
Like I said, God's given us a share of his property. He's given you a piece of land and a house, and me a piece of land and a house. And it's his property, but we're just the caretakers. On his behalf, we're utilizing it in his service. And that's why in Vedic culture, very nice, thing that's done in Vedic culture, that in every house you make one temple. Isn't it? In every house you make it a temple because you bring the Lord into the house. It'll either be Sita Ram, you have Sita Ram in your house, or Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan, like that. You'll invite the Lord in the house, and you see him, he's the proprietor of the house, and we're his servants. And there'll be one room in the house will be dedicated for him. That's his room. That where the altar is, that's his room. And that the people see that I'm going out to work to make money for the Lord. And what many people would do, when they bring back their paycheck or whatever, they'll actually put it on the altar to remind themselves that it's the Lord's money and that we're working for him. We're working for him. And you know, we're paying his electricity bill and his water bill and buying food for him. So like that, he becomes the center of the house, not the husband, not the wife, not the kids, whatever, the parents, but the Lord is the center, that he's the proprietor of the house and he's the enjoyer of everything. So whatever food is cooked in the house is offered to him, like that. Whatever money is made is given to him. And then, of course, you'll utilize that money for paying all the household expenses. So really nothing different is really there. I mean, it's the same people, the same house with the same money, the same food, but you just change the central point. That's all. You see? See, externally, there's nothing really different, except the only difference is the central point.
Yes.
You know, it's still this, like I say, the same people, the same car, the same job. It's the same kids, same, husband and wife, everything. Everything's the same, but just the central point is different.
That's true.
That we have the mentality is shifted. Instead of thinking it's my house or it's our house or whatever, and it's my money and my food, it's the Lord's. You're seeing like that. And that makes a massive difference in how we feel. We're going to feel more peace. And then, of course, when you feel at peace, then you're going to feel more happiness. Because you can't have real happiness without peace. And you can't have peace without understanding these principles. That we should be all working for the Lord's enjoyment, and he's the proprietor, and he's our real friend. He's our real friend. So it's saying he's the friend of everyone, and he has inconceivable opulence. Power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. So these are called the Aishvarya. So these are the opulences of God. So the opulence means like wealth. So he has unlimited wealth, power or strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. So this is called Sad Aishvarya Purna. Purna means full of Sad Aishvarya. Sad means six. In Sanskrit is six. Sad Aishvarya Purna. That God is, who is God? God is that person that is Sad Aishvarya Purna. That he is full in six opulences. So these are the six opulences that God is complete in, is completely full in. So we all have some of that. Everyone has some wealth, some power, but we don't have all of it.
Yes.
So we have a little bit of all these six. But that one person that is complete in all six, not complete in one, or two or three, but all six, has all of it. Complete strength. I mean, unlimited strength, unlimited wealth. And that's only one person has unlimited of all six, and that's Krishna. And when Krishna came to the earth 5,000 years ago, he demonstrated his unlimited amount of these six opulences. He demonstrated his unlimited strength. Like tomorrow is actually the Govardhan Puja, when Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill. So that's unlimited strength. He was only at that time he was only about 7 years old from memory. I think he was about 7 years old. And he lifted the mountain continuously for 7 days on the little finger of his left hand. The weakest finger is the little finger of the left hand. So he did that without any effort for 7 days continuously. So that's demonstrating his strength. And, you know, he killed great demons that even the demigods, the Devas, were afraid of, like Kamsa and Kaliyavana, Jarasandha, Shishupal, Dantavakra. You know, there's a long list of great demons that Krishna killed without any effort. One time he, not one time actually, 13 times he defeated Jarasandha and his armies all by himself, just him and Balaram. He said 17 times.
Wow.
17 times, just him and Balaram. And he had, I think it was 13 Akshahini divisions. And Akshahini is the measurement of the army size previously. I mean, now in modern day terms, we have the word division. You know, you have a infantry division and so many terms are there. So they had this word Akshahini. And it was thousands of chariots and charioteers and elephants and infantry and so many things like that, and horses and like that. I think it's 103,000 infantry soldiers like that in one Akshahini. So he had like 13 Akshahini like that. And Krishna and Balaram killed them all 17 times over.
Wow.
So just unlimited strength. And like that, his beauty, how all the gopis were so attracted when Krishna would play his flute. All the gopis would drop everything and run to Krishna. It's just so beautiful. His form, Sham Sundar. He was known as Sham Sundar. Beautiful, like a blackish cloud. Sundar means beautiful, like the Shama, the black rain cloud. So beautiful. Like that. So all the opulences were there. So Krishna fully proved that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead by displaying all these 6 opulences. Okay, let's continue.
Okay. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong.
It's amazing arrangement, isn't it?
Yeah.
How the cow produces milk, but the cows eat grass. They don't drink milk. I mean, when the calf is born, it drinks milk for a very short time. But I've seen that like on New Gokula. After a short time, the calf will not keep drinking the milk. It will just be eating the grass and doesn't need the milk anymore. Even when the calf is born, of course, when the calf is born, the mother starts to produce milk for the calf. But even at that time, when the calf is drinking milk, the cow is producing much more milk than what the calf is able to drink. Say, for example, in the day, the cow produces 20 liters of milk. But the calf's capacity can only drink, say, for example, 5 liters of milk. So what is going to happen with the other 15 liters per day? That is the Lord's arrangement for the human beings. And then, say, after a few months, the calf will not drink even 5 liters. It will not drink that. It will just be eating grass. But the cow still gives 20 liters of milk for at least 1 year, like that. So, and I have devotee friends. They really love their cows that they have. Like I know one guy in New Zealand, he has cows, some cows, and he was getting milk from one cow for more than 8 years
Whoa.
without another calf. Like
Mm.
the cow had a calf, and then the calf grew up, and that cow wasn't pregnant again for say at least 8 years. And that cow still gave milk, even though there was no calf anymore. The calf became another big cow.
Wow.
So, but the
Mm.
mother kept giving milk because she loved the devotee family so much. So they're like her children, just like the calf is the child of the cow. So the cow also treating the humans like their
Mm.
children, and is giving milk to the family for so many years. And slowly, the milk became less. Like in the beginning, maybe it's 20, then it becomes, after some years, 15, then 10, then 5. I think after 8 years or something, it was giving 1 or 2 liters a day. But it's still giving. How much is, that's depending on different
Mm.
situation. But this is the Lord's arrangement. Some people say that's unnatural. The human being shouldn't drink cow's milk.
I think, yeah, that's what I
Some people
heard.
say that.
Yeah. Yes.
Vegan people say that. But no,
Yeah.
actually, this is an arrangement for the Lord. Otherwise, what would happen for all that milk? The
Mm.
cow is giving 20 liters. I'll tell you, if the people don't take that milk from the cow, it's produced 20 liters, right? If you
Mm.
leave that milk inside the milk bag, it becomes rotten in there and causes a disease called mastitis.
Mm. Yes.
Mastitis is a big problem. If you don't empty out the milk bag fully every day, if you
Yes.
don't empty it out fully every day, the cow gets one disease. It's very painful.
Mm.
The milk becomes rotten inside there. So that's not natural, to ignore that milk and thinking that, oh, a human being can't take it. No, actually, you're doing a favor for the cow by emptying out that milk, taking that milk, and then it will produce new milk the next day for the calf and for the people. So this is the Lord's arrangement. This is very easily, we can take that milk, and without any big endeavor.
Mm.
Previously, we see in Vedic culture, every family would have a little piece of land and a simple house, and they would have at least one cow, at least minimum. Some families would have like up to 10 cows, and they would, extra milk, they would sell that. We see that in Krishna Lila. Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, Nanda
Mm.
Maharaj,
Mm-hmm.
he had 9 lakh cows,
Wow.
900,000, 9 lakh cows.
Mm.
He was Maharaj. He's like the king of the Vaishya community. He had 9 lakh cows, and he would produce, they would produce ghee and makan and dahi and so many things,
Mm.
and they would sell the extra produce. They would sell that, and from selling the dairy products, they had so much opulence. Like all the women in that were wearing all silk clothes and diamonds and rubies and
Mm.
chintamani and jewels and so many things. And they had mountains of grains, rice and wheat and so many things, and beautiful houses and everything like that. That was all from just bartering, exchanging the
Mm.
dairy products for other things.
Wow. Mm.
So it's an amazing system, but even apart from that, and even recently, we see that very common that every family in the countryside would have at least one or two cows, and would get enough milk for the family. Some people have more than that, then they're selling some dairy products like that, and they can live a very good life. And they don't have to travel to go to work, and they don't have mortgage and debts and so many things like that. Just grow some vegetables, grow some rice. Each family would grow a crop of or wheat if they're in the north. In the south, they might grow rice, and in the north, they might grow wheat. And everyone has at least 1 or 2 house cows. And then the food problem is solved. I mean, what else do you need? If you have your own land and you have a cow, then everything you need you can get from there. If you have the land, you can grow your fruit and vegetables and everything. Some grazing for the cow, have a cow, get milk. And if you have your own grains and vegetables and milk, you can live like a king. You'll enjoy, organic, fresh food, have nice food. And what else do you need? And from the land also you can make a house, from the earth and the wood and different materials on the land, from the stones. You can make your own house also from the land. So that in that way, everything you can get. And from some animals, you can get the wool and you can make clothing. Or if you grow the cotton, I saw that when I went to Gujarat. I saw these fields full of this white fluffy balls. I said, what's that? I never seen it before growing. And the guy said, it's cotton. So like that, you can grow cotton and make your clothes. Or if you have the sheep or whatever like that, goats, you can get the wool and, like that. Even there's a class in India, there was, even from a long time ago, the cow, once it dies naturally, not in killing in the slaughterhouse, but once it dies naturally, then there's a class of people that would make leather from the skin.
Yes, that's true.
And then you can make shoes and belts and so many things like that. And it's just, more in harmony with nature. And everything that we need, we can get very easily without needing, big complicated arrangements and, big cities and factories and skyscrapers and everything. We've made it so complicated. But previously, people lived very simply, very naturally, very in harmony with nature, and they're not polluting the environment. And everyone has enough what they need. No one has too much, and no one has too little. Everyone just had the right amount. Very nice system. But somehow or other, human beings have complicated everything.
Yes, they have complicated everything. That's true. They want more, and then and they want more than what they need. And basically, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So true.
So we can see that the Lord has made a perfect arrangement for everyone, that the milk is there already. The cow is giving that milk. We just have to take it and utilize it and look after the cow. And obviously also, because you're getting something very valuable product, so delicious milk, and you can make so many nice things from there, the kheer, the payasam, the rubbery burfi, sandesh, shrikand and paneer, and you could get so many things. So you're getting something so nice from the cow. So in return, we should look after the cow. Therefore, go raksha. Go raksha means you have to protect the cow.
Protect the cow.
That she's go mata. She's our mother. Like mother is giving us milk when we're born. So the cow is like mother. So we're taking something from the cow. So part of that natural system is also that we should look after the cow and protect the cow, not exploit or abuse the cow, but we should take care nicely. But because now people, they are taking the milk, but they're exploiting the cow and abusing the cow and then killing and so forth. And this is called gohatya, and this is killing the cow. And that is the greatest pap. That is the greatest crime. One time Prabhupada came to New Zealand, and he said New Zealand is a very nice place, except for one thing. Do you know what the one thing he said? Except for one thing, it's a nice place.
They actually kill cows for food, isn't it? That's a lot of.
Yeah, this is a that cow killing in New Zealand is very huge scale, because so many cows and they're 100% killing 100%. So all the cows, And Prabhupada said this is the one defect of New Zealand. In New Zealand, nice climate, nice people, everything nice, and nice food and everything. But one big problem in New Zealand, they're killing so many cows. So this is a big crime. And because of this, and Prabhupada also said that the number one cause of our suffering is the animal killing, especially the cow killing. That killing animals, and especially the cow, is the most important of all the animals. And why we say go raksha, protect cows? Why don't we say protect dogs? We don't say go, in Sanskrit dog is called shuni. We don't say shuni raksha or what's another one? I was trying to remember the one for donkey. Donkey is I can't remember this. I'm trying to remember the Sanskrit for donkey. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't say protect donkeys or protect sheep, or it says protect cows. So that's because the cow is giving us this most valuable food of milk, which the scriptures explain that when we drink milk, especially hot milk, it nourishes the brain, special tissue in the brain that deals with spiritual realization. Because when you think about it, only the human being can develop spiritual realization. The dogs and cats and pigs and fish and birds don't have any spiritual realizations. They just eat and sleep and have sex and protect themselves from fearful situations. Only the human being thinks about higher things like who am I and why am I here and why are we suffering and is there a God and what's my relationship with God, and go to a church or a mosque or a temple or whatever like that. Only human beings have this. And that particular part of the brain that has this inquisitiveness for spirituality, that is only nourished by cow's milk. That is the only food that nourishes that part of the brain that deals with the spiritual realization, according to the Vedas. And not buffalo milk, not sheep milk, not your mother's milk, but only the cow's milk. So this is also part of God's arrangement. That relationship between human beings and cows is so important, and that we have to protect the cows. They're giving us the most important thing. Without it's said that actually the purpose of human life is God realization. And God realization can only be developed through Brahminical culture. Brahminical culture.
What is that?
Brahminical culture means a culture in the mode of goodness, because the Brahman, see, a Brahmana means a person in the mode of goodness. So a culture where we're trying to develop or rise up to the mode of goodness. Because the other modes, what are the other modes? That's passion and ignorance, Rajagun, Tamagun. So we're trying to, a culture where you're coming up from Tamagun, Rajagun, going to Sattvagun. So going to Sattvagun, the culture that helps you come from Tamagun and Rajagun to Sattvagun, that's called Brahminical culture. And that's the culture, the original culture of India, is that developing that Brahminical culture. That we're born ignorant, but you don't die ignorant. You should die at least in the mode of goodness. You should come up to the mode of goodness. And the best is to die in a spiritual realization, Brahman realized. So, and so the perfection or purpose of human life is to come to God realization, but you can only get to God realization if you develop the mode of goodness. You can't realize God if you're ignorant or passionate. You can only realize God if you're in the mode of goodness. And what does the mode of goodness mean, or what is the symptoms of the mode of goodness? Is symptomized by knowledge, Mode of goodness means you have knowledge, you have higher knowledge. You know who you are, you know who God is, you know your relationship with God, you know why you're suffering, what's the solution, you know what the laws of nature is, you know about karma and reincarnation, all these kind of things. You know, you have knowledge. And it's also symptomized by happiness. So in the mode of goodness, you tend to have knowledge and happiness. This is a symptom of the mode of goodness. So that the culture which helps you develop that knowledge and happiness, come to that happiness, because why is it that if you're in the mode of goodness, you become happy? Because you have knowledge. So you're not going to kill cows anymore. You're not going to eat cows or kill cows anymore. You're not going to take intoxication or drugs anymore. You're not going to have illicit sex anymore. You're not going to gamble anymore. So basically, you have knowledge. You're going to avoid all the pap, all the sinful activities, bad karma. You're going to avoid bad karma and just do good karma, which brings you to happiness. You're going to do the punya. You're going to do the pious activities, not the pap. You're not going to do papa karma. You're going to do punya karma, and that will ensure that naturally that the byproduct will be you're going to become happy. So if you have knowledge, you're going to avoid the bad things and do the good things, and the natural result is you're going to enjoy. You're going to be happy. You're not going to suffer. And but that Brahminical culture is supported only by the go raksha, by the cow protection, that we're getting the milk, we're utilizing that milk, nourishing our brain, coming to the mode of goodness, and then from there realizing God, coming Krishna consciousness. So this is the system that God has set up. And it's broadly known as Varnashram Dharma or Sanatan Dharma. This is the basic principle of Varnashram Dharma, Sanatan Dharma, and that Krishna has set up for us. Would you like to say anything about that?
Yeah, just you said something about that cow producing more than required milk. That's the thing. Something I never thought about.
Yeah.
So that extra milk is produced, and why?
Yeah.
And I've heard the theory as well. People saying, look, even the calf of a cow doesn't drink milk after some time. So, and we keep drinking milk, cow's milk. But this makes sense now that why extra milk is being produced.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something I never thought about, and just so that's something. Realized good.
Yeah. See, Krishna's giving us everything that we need. Like the invocation verse on Purnamida, that everything is here in the material world that we need for our maintenance. So we need to come out of ignorance. We need to get free from suffering to realize God. So we need some things to help us to realize God. And one of those things that we need is the cow. So the cow is there with the milk, and the milk is helping us to realize God. So there's an intimate relationship between us becoming self-realized, God-realized, and the cow. And that we need that milk is supporting that realization of God. But because that knowledge is lost to society, no one knows that anymore, hardly. Very few people, only a few brahmanas know that about the importance of the cow, that milk is supporting our spiritual realization.
True.
But if people have that knowledge, then they'll have more respect for the cow.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep reading.
Okay.
Take for example.
Take for example our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Isopanisad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building material ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be the proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it.
Yeah, this is a very important point. That we can't claim anything's ours because the raw materials of whatever we have produced was already there.
Yes.
We didn't make the raw materials. All we've done is we've transformed it into something else. Like one time, Prabhupada was talking with a glass manufacturer, and he said, "Where does glass come from?" And the man said, "Sand." So that's a very easy one. Then Prabhupada said to him, "Where does sand come from?" Now that's a harder one. And the man was actually, he's a pious Indian man. He had some knowledge. So he said, "Bhagavan," which is the correct answer. But now's where it gets interesting. Prabhupada said, "You have stolen Bhagavan's sand and sold it for a profit. You are a thief." And the man was really, he was, cornered. Prabhupada had cornered him. And he was didn't know how to get out of it. So, but he said, no, Swamiji, I am giving some donation to the temple. And Prabhupada said, "Okay, you are a small thief." Because, you've taken 99% for yourself and 1% you've given to God. But actually it's 100% God's. But we've taken 99% of it and given 1%. But I mean, at least he gave 1%. I mean, at least a complete materialist would just take 100%. But a pious person with some God consciousness recognizes that I should give something to God because it's only by His grace that I have anything, like that. So there's some recognition there. You going to say anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, it's very true. What we haven't created anything. We are just using and transforming things and using them. But we don't ever question where is it coming from, who created it. Those kind of things. It makes sense. I mean, it's already there. We are just here. So somebody else is proprietor of this everything, and he is the God.
Yeah. And we're not saying that we can't use it. We're not saying that. But what we're saying is you should recognize and acknowledge the proprietor.
Yes.
I mean, if you're living in your father's house, right, and you're living at his expense, right? You're using his electricity, you're using his water, you're opening up his fridge and taking his food out of it, and he's happy that you're doing that. But shouldn't you at least say every now and again, "Thanks, Dad. I really appreciate you, you're looking after me and you're educating me and you're feeding me and clothing me and just thanks a lot. Can I do something for you?" Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
What do you think? Or what do you think? You're living in your father's house and you take everything for granted. You never say thank you to your father. You never acknowledge him. You never even look at him. You always turn your back on him, and even sometimes you might even criticize him. How would the father feel?
He won't feel good. I mean, he'll be But the thing is that you are making the the person or the authority which is providing you, you are basically making them unhappy. You are not grateful. You're not, So if you are making somebody who's actually owns the thing, it's not going to be good, isn't it?
No, I mean, what kind of atmosphere will it be like in that house? It won't be a very good one.
That's right.
Where you ignore the proprietor, you're ignoring the owner, the father, and you're we call that in English, we call that a spoilt brat, where the child doesn't really appreciate the parents who's providing everything. We call that, and takes everything for granted. Takes everything for granted, think, I just deserve everything, We're such a big ego that I deserve the best of everything. and you're just so arrogant and so proud. I mean, but that's not a very good atmosphere to be living in. And nobody likes a sport brat.
That's true.
No, nobody likes a sport brat that, doesn't appreciate the value of all the services that have been given to him or her like that, and doesn't try to repay the debts. Doesn't think, I mean, that my mother and father have served me so much for so many years, and doesn't think, what can I do for them? How can I serve them? Like that. Never thinks like that. Just takes it for granted that, just take, and never thinks, what can I give? What can I give? What can I give? And this is really bhakti. Bhakti is that, we're always taking so much from the Lord. Now, what service can I do for the Lord? And that's what bhakti is all about. Let me glorify the Lord. It's like saying, thank you, Dad, for you've educated me and fed me and provided for me. That's like how we say thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm your servant. What service I can do for you? You've done so much service for me. What service? So it's like a prayer for service. We're asking for service, what we can do. And Prabhupada had a criticism of even most religious people, is that when we go to church or temple or whatever, we go there and we ask to get something from God. Like Christians say, God, give us our daily bread. Or, we go to the temple and mandir and say, help God, give me a wife. God, help me pass my exams. God, help my business to profit to double or triple or whatever like that. But hardly anyone goes to a temple or church and goes there and says, God, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? I mean, he's already doing everything for us. And why go there and ask for something more? I mean, is he stupid? He doesn't know what we need. We've just read here, he knows that we need milk, to develop our brain. So he's giving it automatically. We didn't have to ask for a cow. Cow was already there. Everything that we need is already here. He's already made an arrangement because he knows exactly what we need. He knows we need a wife, so the wife is there. He knows we want children, so the children are there. He knows we need a house and a car and money, and all those things are provided. We don't need to ask for them. The only thing that we should ask God for is, what can I do for you? What service? I'm your das. What can service I can do? And that's what the bhakti principle, like that. That's what makes bhakti different than some other religions, is that we generally don't ask anything from God except for what service we can do for God, like that. Because he like we read, he knows everything. He knows what your wife needs. He knows what your kids need. He knows what you need. He knows what the cow needs. And he already has a perfect arrangement for everyone. So you don't need to ask. It's automatically, he knows before you ask. Before you go to the temple and ask, he already knows what you're going to ask. He's in your heart.
That's true.
He knows what you're going to ask. Before you even think it, he already knows. He knows past, present, and future. He knows everything. There's no need to ask.
So
but
true.
Then you say, why you need to ask, to serve God. And does he need something from us? No, actually, he doesn't need anything from us. He's like full of all opulences, right? Sadoshvarya Purna. What can we give him that he doesn't already have? He has everything. So then you might say, well, that's redundant. Why ask, what we can do for him? There's nothing we can do for him. But it's not that we can really do anything for him. If we give him some food, he doesn't really benefit. If we give him, $100 or $1 million, he doesn't really gain anything from that because it's already all his. So then you might say, well, why bother asking? what can we do for him? He already has everything. He's self-sufficient atma rama, apta karma. But yes, you should still ask, what can I do for you? Because that brings in love. That's the bhakti, that's the love.
Mm.
Do you know how you worship Ganga? How do you worship Ganga?
Yeah,
How? What's the process of worshiping Ganga?
I'm not sure. We usually, I think, I don't know. I mean,
What do you give to Ganga? To do the puja for Ganga, what are you giving to Ganga?
thanking
Well,
for the water.
Jayanti said you give Ganga water.
Oh yeah, that's
You take up the water from the Ganga and you offer it back to the Ganga. And someone materialistic person might look at that and say, well, that's stupid. Well, you taking the water from the Ganges and giving it back to the Ganges. What's the point of that? But there is a point that there's love there. You're trying to do some service. I mean, say your children write you a birthday card. Or for Christmas or something, they write you a card, or whatever, for Janmashtami or Diwali or whatever. They write you a card and say, love you, Dad, have a happy Diwali or whatever like that, and thanks for everything. And they do some pictures and everything like that. And where did that card come from?
It's from them, from love towards us, or
No. I know they're doing it because of love, but where did the card and the pencils, the coloring pencils,
the
and everything
material,
come from?
that's coming from Krishna.
No, but it came from you.
Oh yeah, but where did it came from me? But they are from Krishna ultimately, right? The material.
No, I know, but I'm just looking at it
Okay,
purely.
from that perspective. Okay, yes. I am providing them, Okay, yes, I understand the analogy.
So if they give you a present on your birthday, but the present comes from you.
Okay.
So then you might say, well, that's redundant. There's no need to give you a present, because the present's coming from you to them and back to you. Then you might say, well, that's a waste of time. But is it a waste of time? No parent would ever think that.
No,
Because it's given with love. So all the products that we have, they already belong to the Lord. There's nothing to give him. But he wants us to give it to him, because that brings in something very special, which is what we all want, and which is called love.
Very good analogy, actually. Yes, I think.
And that's why it says in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a fruit, or flower, or water, I will accept it. Patram puspam phalam toyam. So even an insignificant thing, even the poorest man on the planet can give God a leaf, especially tulsi leaf is very pleasing to the Lord, or a fruit. It's nothing. You don't have to be super rich or have a lot of wealth or whatever. But the main thing, he says, is to give him something with love. That's what he wants. He wants that relationship, that loving relationship, that voluntarily from your heart you want to do some service. And then that's the essence of God and ourselves also. We're part of God, is that relationships of exchange of services. That's what we're all about. That's our intrinsic nature.
So true.
If you have your big house there in the city, and your fancy car and lots of money in the bank and everything, but you don't have your wife and your children, then how will you feel? Will you be enjoying?
Not really, no. No, won't be enjoying it. This, yeah.
Yeah. The main thing is your relationship with your wife and kids, or the main thing is the house and the car and the money?
Obviously, it's the relationship. It's
Yeah. Yeah, it's those material things that facilitate the relationship. That's what you're using them in the relationship. But without the relationship, those things have no value.
that's
So it's
true.
not the things that are important, but it's that, you can give one of those things. You can give some money to someone that you love, or some food, or, like that, some car or whatever like that, or let's go out, kids, let's go out to have a picnic in the park. So the car is facilitating your relationship with the kids and your wife. But it's the kids and the wife that's important, not the car. But the car is just helping you facilitate that relationship. So those are that's what helps us to develop our relationship with the Lord. We're singing His names and offering Him food and giving Him a gift like that in the temple, and that's establishing our relationship with Him.
Very good.
You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think that's pretty good example you gave. It's not what you're giving. It's you're showing your gratitude. You know that He is the provider, but still you're showing your love towards Him by giving Him something which He actually owns back to Him. But it's the sentiment.
Yeah.
It's the understanding that He's the provider, but still it's the sentiment which counts. I think it's the bhava
Yes, the
behind it.
bhava. That's it. That's it. You've used the perfect word. So there's nothing really we can give Him because it already all belongs to Him. But the one thing we can give is our bhava, is our love in our heart. And then that's so special, and just like we enjoy that, if someone has some feelings for us, they like us or have some feelings for us or do something for us, then just you can understand in the same way how God feels, because He's a person, but He's a supreme person. But just like we're a person, and He's a supreme person, and He has supreme feelings. He's the most sensitive person. One time, I have to wind up now, but just one story comes to mind with Prabhupada, that he was talking with some people in a room, talking with some people in India, and sitting behind a table, and there was people there, and he was talking with them, and one very simple poor man, he just had a gamsha wrapped around his waist, and the top was all bare, just had a gamsha, simple village person. He came into the room, and he had a garland of flowers in his hands. And he came up to the desk and put the garland around Swamiji, around Prabhupada. And then he offered pranams. He bowed down his head, and then he walked out of the room. After he did that, Prabhupada couldn't speak. He was so overcome by emotions that this person with so much love had come and put the flowers around his neck. His voice was choked up with emotions. He couldn't speak for some time. Then after some minutes of silence, then he could speak again. And he just said, just see how affected I was by that simple man's devotion. Just imagine how God feels when you, with love, give Him something. And He is the most sensitive person. God is not like a stone or something with no feelings. God has the most feelings. I mean, where do we think about it like this? Where do our qualities come from? Everything comes from God, right? So, you know, we have feelings. Where does it come from? We want to be loved and to give love. Where does that come from? It comes from God. God gives love. God wants to be loved. You know, all these things, all these emotions, everything's there, and it's perfect, and it's perfect feature with God. God has everything that we have plus more in perfection. So I was very struck by that, you know, that Prabhupada said, you know, just see how I've been so affected by this simple man's, you know, love and devotion. Imagine how God is affected by someone offering him something with bhakti. And, you know, you can buy the flowers in the market for a few rupees or whatever. That's 50 rupees or whatever like that. It's not a big thing. But the fact that he came and voluntarily from his own desire, his own heart, he did that. It's so valuable, so powerful effect it has. It's not that the flowers were wow, these are such nice flowers or whatever. That's not the thing. But it's that the person is rendering that service
The
from their
sincerity
own
and love,
desire. Yeah.
So true. Yeah, I think. Yeah. But if somebody would have come with the ulterior motive that you want to get something out of it,
Yeah.
probably they wouldn't have been the same reaction.
No,
But
no, no.
since he felt the sincerity and the love from
Yes.
the persons,
Yeah.
Prabhupada
Yeah.
felt so emotional, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. See, real love should be unmotivated. That's the
That's true.
qualification of the pure bhakti. It should be unmotivated, no material motivation. It means I'm not trying to get something back. And it should be uninterrupted, continuous. Isn't it? If you love someone, do you love them only on Mondays? Fridays and Tuesdays? Like if you said to your wife, I love you on Mondays only, she wouldn't be very happy, would she? So, love has to be all the time love. You know, so like bhakti. Bhakti is 24/7. Is all the time we love Krishna. Yeah. And unmotivated. We're not trying, like I said, we're not going to Krishna to get something from Krishna, but just we want to give service to Krishna like that.
Okay.
And that if we have love in that way, unmotivated and uninterrupted, that's called Shuddha Bhakti. That's pure bhakti. And that is the only thing that completely satisfies the soul. You could say, what does a soul need? Do we need food? Do we need a house? No, that's what the body needs. The body needs food and a house and all these things. What does the soul need? The soul needs that pure love, which is uninterrupted, unmotivated. That's called the Shuddha Bhakti, the pure bhakti. That gives complete satisfaction. And everyone's looking for satisfaction, but it's not in having more and more money and a bigger house. It's in that pure bhakti. And this is a good time on Diwali and during Kartik that we can pray to Krishna, please give me pure bhakti. Please help me. Because like I said, we ask something from the Lord, what we should ask for pure bhakti. Please give me pure bhakti. It's said during Kartik month, this pure bhakti, which is ordinarily very difficult to achieve pure bhakti, becomes more easily available in this Kartik time. So this is a very good time we can pray to Krishna. Please give me pure bhakti, pure love. Then we'll be completely satisfied, completely happy. So lovely to be with you once again.
Thank you for just doing this session for me. I mean, nobody else. And thank you very much for that. And I hope you had a great Diwali night.
Thank you, and you and the family.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes.
So I won't take you more time. Thank you very much. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
take care. Have a good week.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.